Alright, folks, so it's sharp 6 o'clock on my clock. So we will begin proceedings. So, once again, a very warm welcome to every single student who is attending this session today. My name is Arvind Raghunathan. I'm the senior manager for training and products at FACE, and I've been a verbal trainer, an in-house verbal trainer by myself for the last 8.5 years. And it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to this session. This session's title has been one of my missions as a verbal trainer for the last 8.5 years. A lot of people find English grammar to be difficult. A lot of people find English grammar to be confusing at various points in time. A lot of people also believe, since they've been learning English grammar possibly in a very, very incorrect way since school, they also find it to be very, very boring. I am out to kind of disprove all of these three myths in this session. So without much further ado, I will kickstart this session. Doing one quick final check. I hope everybody is able to hear me clearly and see my screen. If you're watching this from your phone or your laptop, whatever device that you're watching it from, please ensure that you plug in your earphones so that you will have optimal audio quality. Alright, folks. Now, see, naturally, every single recruiter will tend to have an online test in terms of testing various skill sets. One of those skill sets happen to be English communication, right? Now, English communication is something that is tested at various levels across recruiters. Naturally, it's not only about the verbal ability section that comes in the online aptitude test. It's also tested in various other parts throughout the recruitment process. Naturally, somebody with a decent English communication is what any company would want to hire. Obviously, because English happens to be the business language across the globe, right? No matter what recruiter that you try to land a job in, it could be a German recruiter, could be a Russian recruiter. Naturally, English plays a very, very massive role, being the language of business across the globe. Naturally, it's not the most important, it's not the numero uno business language. There are a lot of business languages, but it's a widely, largely accepted business language across the globe, right? Now, at this point in time, when it comes to online tests, so the focus of our session will be in terms of how do you kind of learn English grammar in an easy manner, specifically to target online tests, which will have a section called verbal ability test, right? Now, see, a lot of recruiters, you take any recruiter who's got an aptitude test. It could be TCS, it could be Infosys, it could be Wipro, it could be Cognizant, it could be Mindtree, it could be Hexaware, it could be Capgemini, right? All of these recruiters, at some point, they will want to ensure that they test your communication skills. The verbal ability round is one of those ways in terms of testing that, right? Now, how do we ensure that we, before we kind of even learn English grammar, what we need to do is, we kind of need to understand the psyche of a recruiter with respect to understanding this basic question, which is, why is it that companies test you on English grammar? Right? So this is a very, very important question. If you understand the answer for this question, then you will also automatically start getting a self-realization that learning English grammar is very, very important. So this answering this question is where we begin this session. Why do you think companies test you on English grammar? Right? Why is it that they have questions on voice and speech, or let's say parts of speech, or whatever it is? Why is it that you think companies end up testing you on English grammar? Feel free, use the chat box. Why do you think are reasons? Feel free, post them, and let's have some interaction flowing in. Folks, for me to have this session so I intend to ensure that the session is very, very interactive for you. Now, naturally, learning English grammar, a lot of people believe that it's not a very fun-filled process. I will kind of go out to disprove that during this session. But then for me to be able to do that, I would need one single support from you, that is, use the chat box and type in your answers. Feel free to chat. The chat box is a great place for us to interact. So good to see answers flowing in. Communicate all over the world for clear-cut communication with clients. That's a very good answer, right? Fantastic, super. Now let me show you some examples in terms of what happens. See, naturally there are a lot of examples out there, but then you kind of need to understand the context with respect to the importance of what happens with respect to failed grammar when it comes to any form of communication. Specifically, it happens at an organization level. Right? That's what I'm kind of going to show you some examples of. Right. Now take a look at this example. right? This is a public notice, a public notice that basically intends to say something, right? So it says, hunters, please use caution when hunting pedestrians walking on the road. Alright, so this is the public notice that is stuck somewhere. This is being posted by the government of a particular country, right? Now, by the way, for those of you who do not know the meaning of the word pedestrians, pedestrians refers to people who walk on the road, right? So that's what pedestrians refer to. Now, naturally, if you look at this sentence is wrong on multiple levels. At some level, this is kind of intending to say that the government is kind of giving a license for people to kill other people, right? So, what kind of a government would that be, right? So, now, naturally, this sentence is very, very incorrect. So, how do you correct this sentence? This is how you correct this sentence. You correct this sentence by keeping a very simple full stop, and you kind of capitalize the first letter with pedestrians. A very simple correction kind of makes this sentence correct. A very simple correction not being in its place sends a very, very incorrect message about a government which kind of is intended in terms of letting hunters kill other people in the same country, right? So this is how bad the image of a government can go if somebody has a grammar fail, basically, right? Now take a look at this example. Right, this is a notice in a restaurant, right? Now, if we're talking about a chauvinistic government earlier, we're talking about a government which provides hunters license to kill pedestrians. This here, we're talking about a restaurant which provides license for cannibalism, basically, where the most important dish in the restaurant happens to be customers, right? It's not a South Indian dish or a North Indian dish or a Chinese dish or anything else. It happens to be customers, because the sentence, the notice says the tables are for eating customers only, right? Now this is again wrong on multiple levels. Now what would be the right way? The tables are for eating, customers only. Simple, very simple correction kind of puts a lot of things into context, right? One last example before we move forward. This context setting is very, very important for us to move forward, right? Imagine this to be a message that a manager is writing to his employee. Let's imagine that this happens to be an email that he writes, right? So he wants to say something. What he wants to say is that we are all working on the first floor, and the washroom in the first floor is not working, right? So if you want to use the toilet, go to the floor below. There is a toilet there. Go ahead and use that. That is what the manager intends to say. But then what is it that he says on the email kind of becomes something that's ridiculously interesting, sometimes ridiculously funny, right? So the manager ends up saying the toilet on the first floor is out of order. Please use the floor below, right? Now, for want of diplomatic reasons, I would not be able to explain the meaning of this sentence because then I would kind of stepping into the censorship territory. But I hope you know what this means, right? So I hope you know where the manager is basically telling people to, in case they want to take a nature's call, he's telling them to take a nature's call on the floor, not in a space designated for when you take a nature's call, right? Now, imagine yourself to be a manager or an employee who sends out similar communication in a place where you work. Right? It could be a place where you're sending an email. It could be a place you're working in a service-related area where you're putting up a message where other people will see. So communication is what drives the world. There are so many communication tools out there. Email is one, Slack is one, WhatsApp is one, Facebook is one, LinkedIn is one. There are so many communication tools. Now, in all of these places, what happens is companies test you on grammar because they eventually want you to come on board, communicate with the clients. Now, somebody said that beautifully, right? So somebody said that communicating with customers is something that's very, very important, right? So when you communicate with customers in a very, very incorrect manner, then ultimately what happens is you become a laughing stock. Right? Now, why would a company want to hire somebody who will become a laughing stock or make that company a laughing stock? Right? So naturally, if you are a manager who wrote the previous email that I showed you, then people will troll you, right? People will make fun of you on every single social media page, right? Now, do you want to be that person is the question. It's $1 million question, right? Now, this is why you need to kind of ensure that your English grammar is spot on. right? It's absolutely spot on, and companies, recruiters love people with a really good English grammar, right? Now this is something that kind of sets the context moving forward. Now coming to what a lot of you have been asking, which is what kind of questions get tested in placements when it comes to English grammar. Now there are two things that we need to talk about here. First, we need to talk about what kind of questions come in English grammar. These are the four kind of questions. There could be find the error-prone part of a sentence, where a sentence is given to you, it's divided into 4-5 parts, and they would be asking you to select which part the sentence has got an error. They might also give you a sentence which has got an underlined part and ask you to choose the best alternative. There could be a sentence completion question where you might have to apply grammar. There could also be a passage completion question, which is usually referred to as close passage. For example, TCS Ninja is one of the famous recruiters which employ close passage as one of the ways of testing people's grammar, right? These are all the question types that you will see in English grammar in placements. Now this is clear. If this is this part of it is clear, the next part that we need to talk about is what topics are being tested in English grammar in placements, right? This is the next very, very important question that a lot of you have been asking. A lot of you also happen to be fans of the Money Heist series. That's great to see, right? But then, now is not the time when we talk about Money Heist. There's always a time to talk about Money Heist. Now is a time where we talk about English grammar, so that we kind of learn it the right way, and then we learn to communicate in a really, really good manner, right? So for those of you who are fans of a Money Heist, great, hats off, I am one too, right? Now coming back, without much further ado, these are the topics that get tested in English grammar. Some of these are really, really important topics. So starting from subject-verb agreement to modifiers to parallelism, these are all the really important topics. So if you look at 2019 recruitment, these will all be the sum of areas where questions would have gotten asked in various kinds of question types that naturally get tested in English grammar in placements, right? Cool. Now, I hope this context setting is clear to you, right? Now, if this context setting is clear, what we will do for the rest of this session is, now the session will go on for a total of 45 minutes to an hour max, right? But then, so naturally, a total of 45 minutes to an hour is definitely not enough to cover the entire world of English grammar. What I will try to show you is that I will try to teach you some of these topics so that you kind of learn how to learn these topics, right? Now you know what is tested in placements in English grammar. Now what next? The next step is very, very simple, right? There is only one way to learn grammar of any language. You have to learn it, right? Every language's grammar will have rules. You need to learn those rules. After you learn those rules, the best way to ensure that they kind of embed it into your system is to ensure that you practice. You keep on practicing a lot of questions, not only solving questions of placement level, but also kind of incorporating that to other avenues of practice, like reading, like listening, for example. And grammar is something that we've learned since childhood. You will absolutely find grammar to be really, really easy, English grammar to be really, really easy, if you believe it to be easy, and if you believe it to be the simple, if you learn it a simple way, which is something that I will show you. And I will also show you that seemingly difficult questions, really, really long questions where you're not able to make any sense of, they will all have simple tricks. If you apply some simple tricks, you will be able to kind of unveil the curtain and kind of arrive at the point where you will be able to solve questions. Right. Now, the next part of this session, I will focus fully on teaching you specific grammar areas which are very, very popularly tested in placements, right? So, that first area happened to be modifiers, right? This is a very, very interesting topic in the world of English grammar. It's a great place to have a lot of fun with this topic, right? Now, with that in mind, moving ahead in terms of teaching you what is modifiers all about. These three sentences are fantastic examples to kind of give you an example and understanding of what modifiers are all about. Right? Look at these three sentences. Right? In all of these sentences, there is just only one thing that's changing. The placement of one word is changing. Right? But then the most important question is, if the placement of this one word is changing, is the meaning of the sentence also changing? That's the question. Right? I will maybe give you a little bit amount of time to think about this. Right? Is the meaning of all of these three sentences different or is the same? Right, the meaning is naturally different. Look at the first sentence, just Arnab was picked to host the program. Now this means that among so many people who can host programs, there's only one person who's been picked. That person happens to be Arnab, right? It's not anybody else. Right? That is the meaning of the first sentence. The second sentence says that Arnab was just picked to host the program. Right? Now what this means is Arnab was just picked to host the program. It means that just now, very recently, Arnab was picked. Right? Arnab was not picked a very long time back. Arnab was picked very recently, in the last few minutes, in the last few hours or so, in terms of hosting this program, which means that the second sentence talks about an event that happened very recently. But look at the third sentence. Arnab was picked just to host this program, just to host the program. Right? Now here the meaning is very different. Here the meaning says that Arnab was picked just to do only one thing. That one thing is hosting the program. Now you see, just because I am changing the position of one word in all these three sentences, the meaning completely changes. Right? This is what modifier is. Right? Modifier is any word or a bunch of words in a sentence which happen to provide additional information in the sentence. Right? So this is basically like words like beautiful, words like quickly, right? So adjectives, adverbs, or any bunch of words which provide additional information, right? Those are called modifiers. Where you place them in a sentence kind of says a lot with respect to the meaning, which changes for every single sentence. Let's see another example. Take a look at this sentence. I will show you all three so that you kind of see them in perspective. Now here, you will naturally see that the same very similar pattern, one single word keeps on changing position. Is the meaning changing? Is the question. Right, absolutely yes, the meaning is changing. Right, only I contributed 10,000 rupees to Corona Relief Fund. What does it mean? It means in the whole world, I am the only person who contributed 10,000 rupees. Nobody else did. Right, that's what the first sentence means. What does the second sentence mean? I only contributed rupees 10,000. Right, it means that the only thing that I did was contributing 10,000 rupees to Corona Relief Fund. I did not do anything else. For example, I did not feed people. I did not give them clothes. Right? I did not help out any elderly people. I only did one thing. What did I do? I only contributed rupees 10,000 rupees for the Corona Relief Fund. But look at the third sentence. I contributed only 10,000 rupees to the Corona Relief Fund. It means that I am trying to say that the amount that I gave is so small. 10,000 rupees is so small. Right? Now again you see the same word, the modifier, the additional information word is changing its position and the meaning of the sentence is completely changed. This is what the world of modifiers is all about, people. If you understand this context, now what we will do is we will move on. Right? We will move on and kind of apply this logic with respect to solving placement related questions. This is a very simple question, very easy question to start with. Right? Now this question, by looking at this sentence, what we need to find out is this sentence correct or not? Right? That's what we need to find out, right? So the sentence is this: on her way home, Ravi found a gold man's watch, right? So is this sentence right or wrong? That's a question. What do you think? Right. Now, to solve these kind of sentences, what you need to do is you need to kind of apply certain rules. There is a very simple 3-step rule to solve modifier questions. I will teach you what those 3 steps are. First is identify the extra information, which is modifier. Now, in this particular case, there is some extra information. That extra information happens to be this word called gold. Right? Now, I've identified that. The second step is identify what the modifier provides extra info about. Right? For example, if I look at this word called gold, what is gold, right? What am I saying is gold, right? So I am trying to say that what is gold, this watch is what is gold, right? So that's what I need to that's what the word gold, the purpose itself is to talk about a watch, right? Now the next thing that I need to do is I need to find out if this modifier and this subject, are they close to each other, right? If not, I need to place them together, right? So naturally the sentence is wrong, because what's wrong? Goldman's watch, right? So why would I see, in which world would we be having a man who's gold, right? So unless his name happens to be Goldman, but then even in this case there's a space between gold and man, the sentence is wrong on every particular level, right? So it's unimaginable, right? It's completely unimaginable. This is what happens in modifiers if you place the wrong word in the wrong place, right? Now what is the modifier? Like I said, the extra information word is the word called gold. What is it supposed to modify? It's supposed to modify watch. So if I have to place them together, what happens? On her way home, Ravi found a man's gold watch, right? So now what have I done here? I have placed this gold and watch together and kind of closed the whole sentence. This is a very, very simple example of understanding these three rules in action, right? Now these three rules are very, very important, folks, even for really, really long sentences. Now this is a simple example. I will show you really complex examples and still apply the same three rules and solve the question, right? That is how easy and simple this world of modifiers is. Good to see a lot of people getting it right. Praveen Kumar has got it right. Chandani has got it right. Right, fantastic. A lot of people seem to be getting it right. Fantastic. Now, cool. Let's move on. Let's see a few more questions. Now, here is a question for you. So, this is a question which is similar to the kind of question type that you get in placements. Find the Ehrstrom part of the sentence, right? So, which part of this? So, you see A, B, C, D, right? So, the sentence is broken into 4 parts. Now, which part of this has got an error? That is basically what you need to find, right? So naturally this is a modifier sentence. So let's naturally try to find out if there is a modifier error. So let's recap. What are the 3 rules of a modifier? The 3 rules are very, very simple, right? Identify the modifier, identify the extra information, right? Identify what is the extra information supposed to be about, right? There will be a noun, right? Identify that. And find out if these 2 things are next to each other. If not, place them together. That's all that matters, right? Now with these 3 rules in mind, let's look at this sentence. Apply the same 3 rules and see if we can get the answer. Alright, so some of you seem to be having answers A, B. Alright, okay. I hope you're not shooting in the dark. Alright, cool. Now let's be scientific in our process when we solve this, right? So first let's identify the modifier, right? So what is the extra information here? See, there are a lot of pieces of extra information here, but I would like to point, see, for example, this word extreme is an extra information, right? See, terror is the word, extreme is another additional information about terror. But anyway, this doesn't matter to us, right? So for example, small is another extra information word, right? So that anyway is not gonna matter to us. What matters to us is this. This is the extra information that matters, that is causing all the problem in the sentence. Left alone in the house. Okay. Now the question is, what is it supposed to modify? Okay, so who are we talking about, right? So when I say left alone in the house, who should be left alone in the house? Here, if you see, if I read the sentence, left alone in the house, the thunderstorm caused extreme terror. Now, am I intending to say that the thunderstorm was left alone in the house, right? Now, unless you're Thanos from the Avengers, possibly nobody in the world will be able to contain the thunderstorm in a house, right? So that's simply not possible. Maybe even Thanos might not be able to do that, right? Now, so who is being left alone? It's small children, right? Now this modifier, right, so which is left alone in the house and small children, right? So are they next to each other? No, they're not, right? So which means that this part called A is in the wrong place, right? It's supposed to be in a very different place. If this part A was in a very different place, this sentence would have been right, correct? Fantastic. Congratulations to all of you who have got the right answer, which happens to be answer A. So the correct answer is this. The thunderstorm caused extreme terror in the minds of small children left alone in the house. This is the correct sentence. Now, by the way, please remember, in placements, the companies in these kind of questions, find the error-prone part, will not ask you to correct the sentence. Will only ask you to find the error-prone part of the sentence. If you do that, that's all that matters. Right. Now, this is an interesting question. Right? It's actually a slightly challenging question, but it beautifully applies the logic of modifiers. So this is a fantastic question. If you understand this, that's all that matters in the world of modifiers. Let's see who will be able to solve this question. Right? It seems like a very simple question. It's like just one simple line, but there are a lot of challenges that are waiting for you this question. Let's see who can get it right. And thanks a lot, folks. Looks like there were 600 plus viewers. Thanks a lot. I hope all of you are liking this session. Right. So for those of you who are answering, see, don't only talk about which word is wrong. Right? Talk about which part is wrong. Is it A, B, C, or D? Which part is wrong? Alright. So Jagadish seems to think that it's C. Okay. Why do you think so, Jagadish? Right. So alright. So alright. So some of you seem to be saying it's B. Right. Cool. Now let's dive in. Right. Now remember our 3 simple rules. What are our 3 simple rules? Identify the modifier. Identify what is it supposed to modify. Place them together. That's it. Right. These are the 3 rules. Let's apply these 3 rules. Right. First, let's identify the modifier. Now, before that, one word of caution. This is a sentence which has not got only one modifier, but it's got multiple modifiers. Right? That is a word of caution I would like to give you right now. Right? But trust me, this is very, very interesting. Right? Let's identify maybe the first of the many modifiers. Okay? Okay, being afraid. Right? So being afraid is one of the modifiers. Cool. Right? Now, what is it supposed to modify? Who is being afraid? John. Right? So as per our rule of modifiers, what should happen? Being afraid and John must be placed next to each other. Correct? Right? Yes, absolutely. They must be placed next to each other. Are they placed next to each other? No, they are not. They are far away, right? John is here, being afraid is here. There is a lot of gap, right? That's not the rule of modifiers, right? So this means that this modifier is wrong. Correct? Right? Think again. Look at this word, he. Right? So what does he refer to? He refers to, again, John. Right? So I want being afraid to be next to John. It is next to John. Right? So which means that this modifier is in the right place. Right? So this modifier is not a problem. Right? Let's forget about this. Right? This actually is one of the modifiers in this sentence, and let's completely forget about this. Let's move on. This modifier is right, which means the error is not with this modifier. The error is somewhere else. What is the next modifier? Now look at this. Right? This whole thing, right? This whole thing is a modifier, which he, being afraid, opened slowly. Now here we have already solved this problem, right? Now so let's forget this. So let's forget the fact that this even exists. Let's read this sentence now. Which he opened slowly. Now I'm reading the sentence. John was met at the door by a strange man which he opened slowly. How can I open a strange man slowly? It's wrong, right? So what will I open slowly? I will open the door, right? Right. Now, which means that this modifier is supposed to be talking about the door, but the door is not here. Right? What is here? It's a strange man. Which means there needs to be some juggling that has to happen between this and this. Right? So if I do that, the problem will get solved, which means the error is in part B. And if I look at the correct sentence, right, it will be John was met by a strange man at the door, which he, being afraid, opened slowly. Right. Harshit, to find a modifier, very simple, Harshit. Identify the part of the sentence which has got an error. I mean, identify the part of the sentence which got extra information. I'm really sorry. The part of the sentence which provides extra information. It could be one word, it could be multiple words also. I hope this answers your question. I hope this answers Navjot's question also. right? How to find which is modifier? Modifier is any part of a sentence which provides extra information. That's it. Alright, is everybody clear? Fantastic, superb. And congrats to all of you who seem to have got the answer right as part B. Right now, let's try this. This is a slightly longer question, possibly a challenging question, maybe not for some of you. Let's see if any of you can get this right. So the sentence is this: unwilling to admit that the hotel had made a reservation error, it was decided by the manager to tell the customers the room's toilet was flooded. Right? So this is the sentence. So the first question is, what exactly is the modifier here, right? Okay, so let's identify. Simple, right? The first step. The first step is to identify what is the modifier. So the modifier here, see, there are a lot of pieces of extra information. Like it keeps saying, modifier is the part of a sentence which provides extra information. See, for example, if you look at this sentence, right? Now read from here to here, right? It was decided by the manager to tell the customers the room's toilet was flooded, right? Now this sentence stands on its own, right? Now if you look at this part, right? Unwilling to admit that the hotel had made a reservation error, right? Even without this sentence stands on its own, which means that this, in the C bracket, this is the modifier, something extra, right? This is like putting on makeup basically. Modifier is like makeup. Okay, good to see a lot of answers flowing. Fantastic, keep them flowing, folks. Right. So the modifier that we need to be worried about is this: unwilling to admit that the hotel had made a reservation error. Right. Now the next question is, what is this modifier supposed to be modifying? So who is unwilling to admit that the hotel had made a reservation error? Right. Who was the person who was not willing to admit? Right. That person should be manager, right? So the manager will be the person who is not willing to admit that the hotel had made a reservation error. Correct, right? Good to see a lot of you people seem to be getting the answer as A. I see that you are able to get this, right? Fantastic. It's supposed to be a manager, right? So manager is a person who is supposed to be modified by this particular modifier. So are they close? Definitely not, right? So twist in the tail, right? A lot of you seem to be saying that the answer is wrong, which is in part A. It's not in part A. Now if you look at this, how will I correct this sentence? Unwilling to admit that the hotel had made a reservation error. Naturally here, what should happen is, here, closer to this modifier, I should be having the word called manager, correct, right? Now this word called manager is very far, right? So there is a lot of gap here, right? So there are a lot of words which seem to be flooding this gap, right? So which means that I need to be modifying part B, changing part B to solve this question, correct, right? Which means the error happens to lie in part B, right? So my correct sentence would be, unwilling to admit that the hotel had made a reservation error, the manager decided. See where I'm making the correction? I'm making the correction part B, right? The manager decided to tell the customers that the room's toilet was flooded. Right? So congrats to all of you who tried, and congrats to all of you who got the answer as option B. Samarjit, yes. See, there are specific questions which will test you on modifiers, Samarjit. For those questions, you will end up applying modifiers, right? So the questions will vary, right? They will differ. There are a lot of different questions. Modifiers, one error type, Samarjit. I hope I've answered your question. Super, folks. Now that we are done with modifiers, so modifiers, 3 simple rules: identify the modifier, identify what it modifies, and place them together. That's it. Right? Superb. Now we will move on to the next most important topic in English grammar. This is again a very interesting topic, right? Now that topic is comparison. Alright. So comparison is all around us. Today we are in the world 2020, and naturally the world is going to the dogs right now. The price of Coca-Cola is more expensive than the price of oil, right? We live in a very challenging environment today. So naturally today, a lot of our minds go back to what was the world like in 2019, right? What was the world like in 2010? What is the world like in 2000? So comparison is a human being's habit, right? Now when you do comparisons in English grammar, a lot of interesting things happen. Let's see what happens. Now take a look at this sentence. We'll start with easy examples and then we will quickly move on to a lot more difficult examples. Right, so let's take a look at this very simple question. The color of his shirt is lighter than me. All right. Now here it's very clearly a comparison question, right? So it's very clearly a comparison question because I am looking at this word called than. It's a word called than, right? Now, if I look at this word called than, then naturally what it means is I have to end up doing comparison, right? Now, what is being compared? I need to be comparing color of shirt, right? So here, what's being compared? The color of his shirt is lighter than me. Now, it's absolutely illogical in every part of the world to be comparing the color of a shirt with the person, right? So that's like comparing a fraction with a whole number, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? So what will be the correct sentence for this? The color of his shirt is lighter than the color of my shirt, right? So I can compare shirt and shirt. I can compare color of a shirt and color of a shirt, right? So comparison is like ratios basically, right? If it's kilogram, it's kilogram. If it's gram, it's gram. If it's meter, it's meter. If it's kilometer, it's kilometer, right? It's exactly like a ratios concept that you learn in mathematics, right? So you need to ensure that the comparisons are consistent. That's all that matters. Now take a look at this sentence. This is an interesting sentence, slightly interesting, right? Some of you might hit a roadblock while solving this. The speed of his car is not as high as mine. Is there a mistake? Is there an error in this sentence? Good, and congrats for a lot of you who've got the previous one right. The word color is very important, by the way, in the previous question. Right, now here what's being compared? I'm supposed to compare speed of a car, right? So speed of car versus speed of another car, right? Now when I say mine, what does it mean? When I say mine, I am talking about my car. Now read this sentence by understanding this meaning. The speed of his car is not as high as my car, right? Now is it logical to say the speed of his car is not as high as my car? It's illogical, right? I need to be comparing speed of a car versus the speed of another car. So what will be the correct sentence? I need to add this word again, which is the speed of, right? If I add that, this sentence makes total sense. This is how comparisons work. Good, right? Now this is an interesting example, right? So far we saw easy questions in comparison. Now here is where the fun starts. Here is where the challenge starts, right? So comparison is all about comparing similar entities, right? Now let's take a look at this, right? If you look at this, this is the kind of question that you need to understand with respect to solving placement related questions. Take a look at this. Obviously I'm showing it to you because the sentence got an error, right? Now how do you correct it? What should be the correct sentence? That is the very, very important question. Pay attention, be very, very careful while answering this question. The Eiffel Tower has a more beautiful atrium than the Taj Mahal. Right, so so we're not talking about adjectives here, so don't answer most beautiful and stuff, right? So those are incorrect answers. Really sorry. Alright, now here, see, let's understand what are we comparing, right? So we're comparing what is the most important question. We're supposed to, so a lot of people will say that we're comparing atriums, right? So people will say that we are comparing the atrium of Eiffel Tower with the atrium of Taj Mahal. That's what a lot of people will say, right? Sorry, so that's not what we are comparing, right? We are comparing something else. We are comparing the action. The Eiffel Tower has a more beautiful atrium. So this word is very, very important, right? This is, so we're not comparing atrium of one building with another building's atrium. We're comparing the action of Eiffel Tower having a beautiful atrium. So here The comparison is about an action of a building having something, right? Now if I say action also has to be compared with another action, right? So if I say Eiffel Tower having something, I should also be similarly saying what? I should be saying Taj Mahal having something, right? So here I am not having anything for as an action for Taj Mahal. I only have Taj Mahal as a noun. Simple question: can I compare a noun and a verb? Can I compare an action to a thing? It's not possible, right? It's illogical. The ratio doesn't work out, right? So in comparisons, the most important rule is always compare similar entities, but when you compare actions, always compare an action to an action. So how do you turn this sentence into a correct one? Very simple. Here the Eiffel Tower has a more beautiful atrium is what is the part, right? So here the action word is has. The same action word also has to be added to the other building which we are talking about in comparison with the Eiffel Tower, right? This is a very, very important point to note in comparison. Always compare kilogram to kilogram, gram to gram, meter to meter, kilometer to kilometer, right? And always compare Virat Kohli to MS Dhoni, right? Feel free to do that. Similarly, compare an action to an action. Fantastic, right? Good to see a lot of you have got the answer. Great job. Now let's take a look at this question. This is a challenging question for you, right? This is one of the classic placement type questions. Choose the underlined part of the sentence. I mean, choose the best alternative for the underlined part. Very, very classic question. Right. But by the way, this question, if you kind of peel off the layers, you will be able to see that it's damn simple. It's all about, it's as simple as comparing kilogram to kilogram. That's how easy this question is. No, Rohan, you cannot write Taj Mahals because if you write Taj Mahals, you're not saying any action for Taj Mahal, so you need to add an action word for Taj Mahal. That's why you cannot say Taj Mahals. Okay, so which of these is the correct answer, folks? Is it A, B, C, or D? Take some time. Take some time, think. Right. Now, I will peel off the layers for you. Seems like a challenging question. It's a beautiful question to solve if you kind of peel off the layers. Alright. Now, this is a classic comparison question. I'll tell you why it's a comparison question. Because look at this word, unlike. Alright. So, unlike means what? Unlike means different. Alright, so good. Keep the guessing game going. Keep the guessing game going. C, B, D, A, so on and so forth. Right. All the alphabets in the English language. Go ahead. Right. Now also think about explaining why. Alright. Don't worry, Srinivas. I'll explain this question for you. Right. Be patient. Right. Now this word unlike means different. So I'm talking about two different things. I'm talking about how a particular item is different from another item. Right. So this naturally means that this is a comparison question. Super. Right. Now let's do some elimination process. Okay. Now let's read it. Unlike that of earlier works on slavery, Sheldon's innovative study. Okay. Now first let's understand what are they trying to compare. Okay. They are trying to compare earlier works on slavery with Sheldon's innovative study. Now see, study, when I say study is an academic word. So an academic word means a publication, for example, a scholarly article, a book, right? So now, so a lot of authors have written works on slavery. They could have written novels or biographies. So their work is being compared with a work that Sheldon has done. Right? So that's what they're trying to compare. They're trying to compare Sheldon's work with the previous works that have been done on the topic of slavery. That's the question, right? Okay, now with this understanding, let's march ahead, right? So now we know what is being compared. Now let's kind of try to peel off the layers. I'll do some elimination process, right? So by showing you certain simple questions, right? So take a look at this. The speed of this car is higher than the speed of my car, right? Is this sentence right or not? The sentence is obviously right because I'm trying to compare speed of this car and speed of my car, right? So naturally it's right. Can I write this sentence in a different manner? I can. I can say that the speed of this car is higher than that of my car. I can say that. Right. Now when I say that of, it means that I'm referring to the word speed. Alright. So I can use that of and kind of refer to this quality called speed here and kind of not make the sentence sound repetitive. That's one way of doing it. Cool. Fantastic. Now take a look at this. The speed of this car is higher than that of my car. Is this sentence right? So even when you read it, it sounds wrong, right? Now it's not wrong just because it sounds wrong. It's wrong because it's actually wrong, right? Now that of my car already means that speed of my car. So when I say another that of, I am trying to compare some quality of speed, right? So this is a quality of speed, right? So some quality of speed with speed, right? I cannot compare quality of speed with speed, right? Speed should be with speed. Quality of speed should be with quality of speed, right? So this sentence is absolutely incorrect. So far, I hope this is clear, right? Super. Now with this understanding in mind, now we will slightly march forward, right? Now take a look at this, right? So here, look at it, unlike that of earlier works on slavery. Now I am trying to compare what? I am trying to compare work done on slavery with work that is done by Sheldon, right? So I need to compare these two. But if I look at these words, that of, what does it mean? It means that I'm talking about some quality of the works with work. There's no quality here, right? I cannot compare quality of a work with work. Right? That's not possible. That's completely illogical, right? So which means that wherever I have that of, those options are eliminated. So I only have two options, option C and option D. Very simple, folks. I need to be comparing work on slavery with Sheldon's work on slavery. Right? That's it. Right? I can compare an author's work with another author's work. I cannot compare some quality of the author's work with another author's work. That's like talking about quality of speed with speed. That's why I am eliminating option A and option B. Now I have two options, option C and option D. Aftab, that's not exactly a preposition. It's a combination of a lot of words. Fantastic. Congrats to a lot of you who seem to be getting the answer right. The answer is indeed option D, right? Now because I cannot say earlier works on slavery Sheldon innovative study, right? So that's grammatically incorrect. So unlike earlier works on slavery, Sheldon innovative study is wrong. So the apostrophe S is required. It's not there. So this is completely wrong. So naturally the answer is option D. Fantastic. That's it. So good to see a lot of you have got the answer right as option D. Great, right? See, this is how easy comparison is, folks. Comparison is all about kind of peeling off the layers and trying to find out what is exactly being compared. If you do that, then the sentences and the questions are very, very easy to solve. Right. Now, I'll kind of come to the last topic, which is subject-verb agreement. This is the last topic for the day, and we'll kind of, this is a very, very important topic that is tested in a lot of placement recruiters. So with this, we'll kind of set a really good place for you to continue your learning journey in grammar from. Now, subject-verb agreement is all about understanding certain rules. Subject-verb agreement is very, very similar to an agreement between a man and a wife in a marriage. It's very similar to the agreement between any two things in any two relationships, right? So that's how close these two words are, subject and verb. This is naturally a very, very easy question. Vikram and Elon is running the company is definitely wrong. Vikram and Elon are running the company is definitely right. Now this is a very classic case of explaining the rule behind subject-verb agreement. Subject-verb agreement questions are all about understanding this one rule. That is, if the subject is singular, the verb is singular. If the subject is plural, the verb is plural. Here, I have two people, right? Vikram and Elon. So, I cannot say is because is singular. I need to say are, which is why the sentence, the first sentence is wrong and the last one is right. Sure, folks. I'll also slightly slow down so that you kind of understand it a little bit better. Don't worry about it. Right. I hope this part of it is clear. Right. So we're talking about subject-verb agreement here, and take a look at this one. Vikram and Elon is running the company. Vikram and Elon are running the company. Here there are two subjects, right? There are two people who are running the company. So if I have plural subjects, my verb will also have to be plural, and this verb called is singular, which is wrong. So like I say here, a singular subject needs to have a singular verb, and a plural subject needs to have a plural verb. This is the golden rule with respect to ensuring that you understand subject-verb agreement. Now let's take a look at the next sentence. Take a look at this. The Indian cricket team have won today. Is this sentence right or wrong? Take a couple of seconds, think about it. Right? Is this sentence right or wrong? So identify, very simple, identify what is the subject. Okay. Now the subject here happens to be Indian cricket team. Alright. Now let's also try to identify what is the verb. The verb is have won. Now you need to find out whether the singular subject is having a singular verb or if the plural subject is having the plural verb. Is that happening here correctly or not is the question. Okay, good. A lot of you seem to be saying that is wrong. Right. Now why is it wrong? Naturally, yes, the answer is the Indian cricket team has won today is right. That's because when you look at Indian cricket team, while an Indian cricket team will have a lot of players, specifically a playing 11, this is particularly called something called a collective noun. So a collective noun is a group of people or a group of things or a group of animals or birds which kind of perform and behave as a single unit. So here when we say the word team, the team is a single unit. So when I say a collective noun like a team, it behaves as a single unit, then I will end up having my verb as singular. Right. Now take a look at this sentence. This is a spin on the same sentence, the previous sentence. Sure, Lavanya, don't worry. Feel free to type in your questions. I'll also be able to answer the questions. Now take a look at this one. The Indian cricket team has been fighting amongst themselves. Is this right or wrong? If so, what's the right one? Manoj, you can say had, but then we're not trying to change the tense of it. We're not trying to change present tense into past tense. So that's not the problem here. Good. Good to see that a lot of you are answering have been. Now, why is the answer have been is something that we need to talk about, because naturally it's the same collective noun, right? So when I look at collective nouns, here if I talk about Indian cricket team, right? The Indian cricket team here, when it starts fighting amongst themselves, what happens is it no longer behaves as a single entity. It starts behaving as a non-singular entity. Correct, right? So when it starts behaving as a non-singular entity, it's no longer one team because people are fighting amongst themselves. So that naturally makes this a plural noun, which is why the word happens to be have been. There's nothing wrong with have, Shanks. The answer actually is have, right? Because here the Indian cricket team have been fighting among themselves because it's no longer one single unit, because the people are fighting among themselves. It's no longer one single team. The team is broken right now. I hope I've answered your question, Shanks. Right. Now take a look at a few more. The survivors along with Rakesh is exiting the quarantine zone. The quarantine zone is a very, very popular word today. Now let's see if this sentence is right or wrong. Take a couple of seconds, think about it. Is this right or wrong? Take a couple of seconds. Feel free and chat. Right. Now, in this sentence, what happens is, this sentence is wrong, by the way. The correct one is, the survivors along with Rakesh are exiting the quarantine zone. Now, I'll tell you why. If you look at these kind of sentences, what happens is, you need to identify something called a core subject. Okay. Now, take a look at this, along with Rakesh. Now, if you see words like this, along with, together with, as well as, right? Now, these are all words which will kind of give you side additions to the subject, right? There is a main subject called survivors. There are side subjects, along with, together with, accompanied by, as well as, together to. These are all words which give you side subjects. Always it is a core subject with which the verb will agree with. So the core subject here happens to be survivors, which means the verb cannot be is. It is singular. It has to be plural, which is why the answer is are. Fantastic, fantastic, great job. This is simple, right? Now let's get tougher. Now take a look at this one. Either Warren or his board members has to be present for the meeting. Now this is a tricky one, because so far what are the rules that we saw don't seem to be applying here. What do you think is the answer for this? Is this right, wrong? If so, how do you correct it? Right. Now here, pretty simple. Here the confusion comes because there are two subjects. There is Warren. Now Warren is naturally singular, right? So Warren is singular. And I have another subject called board members, right? Now board members is naturally plural, right? Now what do? Do I keep a verb which is singular or plural? Because there is one subject that's singular and the other one that's plural. Now what do? That is the confusion. Now in this case, what you do is always ensure that you look at the closer subject to the verb. So here what is the verb? The verb is has. Look at the subject which is closer to the verb. So the closer to the verb is board members. Now board members is plural, right? Now this is the case where you have either or, neither nor, these kind of patterns. So when you have either or, neither nor patterns and you have two subjects, always look at the subject that is closest to the verb. If this subject is plural, then your verb also has to be plural. Exactly, Sumedh. Exactly. See the closer subject. Based on the closer subject, take the call. If the closer subject is plural, the verb is plural. If it's singular, the answer is singular. Now, last one. $10 million are a difficult turnover to achieve. Let's see if we can get this right. Lavanya, don't worry, I will show you the previous slide. Don't worry, we'll just go with the flow right now. I'll definitely show you the previous slide. Hold on, I definitely will. You can start a sentence with either Pranava. You definitely can. It's about talking either A or B, right? Right. Now, it's pretty simple. $10 million is naturally a big item. It's a huge number. It looks like it's plural, right? But then it is not plural actually. It is actually singular. Because sometimes numbers can be confusing. Because here I am not talking about $10 million as something that's plural in number. I am talking about $10 million being a difficult turnover. Right? See, a turnover is like a target, right? So I am attributing $10 million to be one target. So target is something which is only one number, right? So that one number is $10 million, right? So a number, when it kind of is attributed to something like a target, something like a turnover, something like entities which are singular, right? You need to understand what numbers are being attributed to. For example, I can also say that 85 kilos is a huge weight, right? 100 kilos is a very, very heavy weight, right? Now here 100 kilos is plural, but I am saying 100 kilos, I am attributing it to one single number called weight, right? So it depends on how I attribute it to. Am I attributing it to as one weight, or am I attributing it as one target? In those cases, don't be fooled by numbers which are plural. Think about what is getting attributed to. Is it a target? Is it a weight? Is it a number? If that is singular, then the verb will be singular, which is why the answer is. Great, great, fantastic. Now, time for some questions. I have exactly one more question after this. With that, we'll wind up the session. So I'll take maybe another 3-4 minutes max to finish this. Now take a look at this sentence. Find the error-strewn part of this. Slightly longer one, but very, very easy. Remember the neither nor rule. If you apply the neither nor rule, even if this looks like a complicated question, you will be able to solve it. Which option is it, guys? Is it A, B, C, or D? Right, I see that you're posting answers as is. Great. Right now, which are you talking about? Are you talking about option C, part B, or part A? Which are you talking about? Right. Now, this is a tricky sentence because now naturally this is not a question which you will usually get because there is also this is what is one particular sentence which has got 2 grammatical errors in it. Usually you won't get a question with 2 particular errors, but I intended to put it here because I wanted to find out if you can find out both of the grammatical errors. I will first come to the actual grammatical error with the fact that we're talking about neither nor. Now here naturally there is one word missing, that is both of, right? Now because this is missing, this naturally happens to be an error-strewn part, which is B, right? So if I say neither the government nor the scientific community, both of whom are battling, right? See, now in this case, this R, so now a lot of you might be thinking that this R might be wrong. This R is not wrong, right? This R is not wrong because they're not talking about, so neither nor means what? Nobody is doing it, right? So in this case, both of them are battling it, right? So in this case, with this word, without this word, this is also wrong. But let's assume that this word is there. Let's assume that this word of is there. Then here, in this case, this particular word called R is right, because I am talking about both of them actually battling it. Both the government is battling it, the scientific community is also battling it. Now, just try ignoring this. Okay, just try ignoring this. Forget about this. Okay, now only focus on this part. Right. Now focus on this. Ignore this, like I said. And now read the sentence. Neither the government nor the scientific community, right? So now ignore the whole thing, right? Both of whom are battling to save the world from corona, right? So this is some extra information that's provided, right? So ignore the whole thing. Now read it. This is one beautiful trick in subject-verb agreement, ignoring a lot of elements in a sentence and trying to read it. Neither the government nor the scientific community are capable of actually saving the world unless the public cooperate. Right now here, do you see any error? Right? Yes, it's R, right? Scientific community is one community. It is a collective noun, right? Community is basically a collection of people doing one single thing, right? Right now, the whole scientific community is trying to find a cure for corona. So scientific community, like the Indian cricket team, like committee, like jury, like a lot of other collective nouns, is a singular entity because they're trying to do one common thing. So neither the public neither the government nor the scientific community is capable of saving, right? So the answer will have to be is, right? So here it will be is, so this R is wrong. There's also another word which is missing here. I intendedly wanted to check if you are able to find it. So naturally this is the subject-verb agreement error in this sentence, and this is a small other grammatical error that's also present in the sentence. Now if I want to try to talk about a subject-verb agreement error, the error is in part D, which is this, because neither the government nor the scientific community. So I need to look at the closer verb, right? So the closer subject, the second subject. The second subject is scientific community, and that is singular because it is a collective noun. Fantastic. Good to see a lot of you have got the answer right. Okay. Now, one last question. With this, we wind up today's session. Thank you for being very, very patient, folks. There's one last question. Let's answer this and then we'll quickly move forward. Okay, take a couple of seconds, see if you are able to get this right. Do exactly what I said earlier. Kind of try to peel off a lot of extra information and read it. I'll give you a few seconds to go through this question. Right, now that you would have had some time, now we kind of close this with this question. Now take a look at this pretty long question. Right, now identify the subject. That's very, very important. If you do that, this question is a piece of cake. Right, literally this question is a piece of cake. By identifying one single element, you will be able to kind of eliminate every single thing. Okay, so choose the best alternative for the underlined part. The information presented in the most recent reports indicate that turbulent times lie ahead for those who have invested only in airline stocks. Right now airline stocks are completely out, by the way, because of corona. Now naturally this is what the sentence is talking about. It's subject-verb agreement, right? Identify the subject. This is my subject, information. Okay, now there's something else. The information presented in the most recent reports. Let's forget all that. Right, let's forget all that and let's read it. Right, let's try to read the sentence. So the information dash, the information indicate. So information is a word which is singular or plural. That is the question. So will I say the information indicates, or will I say the information indicate? Right, so by the way, the word information is a word which is singular, so you'll always say information indicates. Right, the information in the report indicates that the coronavirus is a massive pandemic. The information indicates that India will win the World Cup. The information indicates that the price of oil will go high. Right, now in all these places, the word information, while it is a collection of a lot of data, information is always looked at as a collection of all data. Remember, so collection means collective noun. Right, so if I look at collective noun collection, information is singular. So if it is singular, then naturally it should be indicates. That is why the answer is option A. Okay, fantastic. So that's it, folks. That's the end of this session. So I will maybe open the session for any questions that you have.